The Kidnapped Bride. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This is an intriguing story which resonates with love, courage, resilience, and sacrifice. It is about an abducted Christian bride who was stolen by Muslim invaders from South Sudan and sold as a slave in Western Sudan. It has been written in English and translated into Arabic by the author Dr. Ahmed. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief paragraphs for a review to be printed in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This novel is a work of fiction, but the entire story is based on similar happenings which occurred in southern and western Sudan. All names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used literary. Any resemblance to actual people, living or dead, events or locales is merely coincidental. Chapter 41. You must leave this city within 24 hours. The Christian Southern lawyer agreed to keep the Dinka girl, Ikalaz, and her baby, Sakina, in his home if the court was able to provide full protection for them and his family. The criminal court accepted his proposal and promised to provide high-level protection for Ikalaz, her child, Mr. Akal, and his family. Immediately after the end of the first session, the house of the Christian lawyer was guarded by a larger number of policemen and police dogs than the house of the adulterous imam. Until now, the American groom Malwal has not been able to identify the identity of his kidnapped Dinka bride, Ayan. When he last saw her, she was a noticeably young girl of 9, and when he got engaged to her, she was 11. At that time, when her parents sent him her photo, she was fat, and not as tall as she is now. While her fiancé was working hard in the United States and saving money to pay for 100 cows as her dowry and other expenses, Ayan grew into a young woman and became very tall. Anyone who remembers her from her late childhood, before she reached the age of puberty, may not believe that she is the same Dinka girl Ayan. Her fiancé, Malwal, imagined her as she was when she was 11 years old before her puberty. He didn't think she could change so much and become so tall. At the age of 14, Ayan lost half her weight due to a typhus outbreak. Her parents thought that her highly educated fiancé, who lives in a rich Western country like the United States of America, might change his mind if he saw her thin and small body. They know that an African boy likes a girl with a big body, especially a big ass and spear-like high-raised boobs. Since typhus had diminished some of those attractive feminine qualities in their adult daughter, her mother and father gave her fiancé's parents a picture of her as a 13-year-old teenage girl. Unaware of who had saved the two lovers that day, the newly married couple Malwal and Olivia walked out of the courtroom like a hero and heroine in a Bollywood movie, defeating the evil adulterous imam of the city's largest mosque and freeing her as a heroine who was locked in a thief's den. For them, this is a great victory for the captive Dinka girl. They concluded that their mission in El Fasher city was over. They thought that the evil imam would be convicted of his heinous crime of slavery and rape, and that the captive southern girl, Ikalaz, would be freed from the house of slavery forever through the clever Christian lawyer, the criminal court, and the police force. The southern lawyer, Mr. Akal, advised the newly married lovers Olivia and Malwal to leave the city of El Fasher as soon as possible for the safety of their lives. He expected that Malana's dangerous terrorist political son-in-law, Mr. Al-Saab, would try to take revenge on them for exposing the crimes of his son-in-law and his spiritual and influential imam in Al-Fasher society. Mr. Akal also promised Malwal and Olivia that he would end the trial successfully and try to find one of the human rights organizations or contact the United Nations office in Khartoum City to grant the released Dinka girl Ikalaz refugee status and send her abroad with her infant daughter Sakina to a good Western country for resettlement. The newly married couple accepted Mr. Akal's wise advice and planned to leave the city as soon as possible. From the court, they went directly to the railway station and booked their tickets for the next day, on the morning train heading to the city of Kasti, and from there they would board the ship and sail safely to the city of Juba in South Sudan. When they get there, they will plan their trip to Nairobi, Kenya, by plane. Then the Dinka groom can go to his country's American embassy and obtain a marital visa for his Azanda bride and take her to live with him there happily ever after. Because of their success in court, the newlyweds decided that day to celebrate their victory in a distinct way. They want to toast the victory with wine and savor it with a hand-cooked meal. From the railway station, they went to the meat shop and bought fresh beef, vegetables, and loaves of bread. They then went to a secret liquor house and bought a bottle of smuggled sherry. After that, they returned to the hotel room and began their unforgettable festive night. There was no night that Mawul and Olivia could remember being as happy as that night. After they celebrated for a long time, singing, dancing, drinking wine, and eating every mouthful of tender meat, they enjoyed fucking each other very much. It's one of those wonderful honeymoon nights in which Olivia has an earth-shattering orgasm, and Mawul reaches his sexual climax as well. It was extremely late at night when the two intimate lovers slept in two small beds. The next morning, the American groom Mawul woke up late. He is suffering from a headache. He tried to force his eyes open, but the severe pain prevented him from doing so at first. With significant effort, he tried again, and was able to open them halfway. Since the day of their marriage, he had never opened his eyes, and been unable to see the beautiful face of his sexy Azanda bride sleeping next to him in the same room, except that morning. That day, her loving Dinka husband was surprised by her absence. Maybe his lovely Azanda wife went to the bathroom, Mawul thought. He listened for a while to hear her movements or singing in the bathroom. She has a habit of singing her favorite songs in the shower. He called her by her precious name, Olivia, and waited for her sweet voice to respond to his call. When there was no answer, he got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. The bathroom door is fully open. Then he glanced inside but found it was empty. Where is Olivia? He asked himself. He became very anxious. In his panic, he hurriedly dressed, then left his room, and rushed to the hotel reception desk. He then inquired about his missing Azanda bride, Olivia, but the receptionist said he had not seen her, and did not know where she had gone. He quickly returned to his room, and began a frantic search for his missing second bride. His meticulous search extended to the entire hotel, but there was no sign of Olivia. Finally, the hotel staff called the police and reported their guest's bride missing. While waiting for the police to arrive, Mawul received a phone call on his mobile phone from an unknown person. A woman's voice, rough like that of an ogre, on the other end of the line, said, "If you want to see your southern wife Olivia alive, you must leave the city within 24 hours and travel to the capital of Sudan as soon as possible by evening train. When you arrive there, you will meet her at Khartoum General Railway Station. If you and your wife return to this city again, you will both be buried alive in your own clothes somewhere in the wilderness." The speaker hung up before the frightened husband Mawul could speak a single word. Chapter 42. Unexpected sad ending. When he heard the disturbing news, the Christian legal representative of the Dinka girl, Ikalaz, tried to find a link between Olivia's kidnapping and the adulterous imam's case, but he could not. Why does the imam or his son-in-law want to get rid of Olivia and Mawul? Even without their presence, the legal charges of enslaving the southern girl, Ikalaz, getting her pregnant outside of a permissible Islamic marriage, and giving birth to his daughter in a forbidden manner, could be successfully proven against Maulana Abdul Razak. The court only needs the written and recorded confession of the victim girl, Ikalaz. Imam Abdul Razak Al-Mahdi could be sentenced to at least 6 months in prison for adultery. But for the same crime, the adulterous imam will be stoned to death if he is tried before the Sharia court. As for the enslavement of the southern girl, Ikalaz, her Christian lawyer, Mr. Akal does not know what the criminal court's decision is, because in Sudanese law there is no such crime. According to the written code of modern Sudanese law, a person must be given 6 months if he describes another person as a slave, but there is no such thing as enslaving a person. The government, judges, lawyers, and other people in Sudan collectively believe that slavery is outdated and does not exist throughout the country. Therefore, the final ruling will be left to the judge and jurymen to decide the appropriate punishment for the imam. The American groom, Mawal, had a different view of Olivia's kidnapping. He believes that the pimp, slave trader, and prostitute, Bint Alzubair Pasha, had a hand in this. Despite his conclusion, he does not want to pass such information on to the police or the southern lawyer, Mr. Akal, for fear that the evil woman Bint Alzubair Pasha will kill his Azanda bride Olivia if she learns that the law is after her. He also hesitates to inform the police that his wife is responsible for the murder of the horrific Hambadi Mun, Wad Mahira bint Aboud, and the setting fire to the brothels and liquor huts of Bint Alzubair Pasha, as the law may hold her responsible for premeditated murder and the theft of the murdered victim's money. This was an intentional fire that caused great destruction in the city. Therefore, the Dinka groom was in serious trouble. He doesn't know whether he should give in to the threat and leave the city or stay and try to find out where his beloved Azanda bride is hidden. He strongly believes that his kidnapped bride, Olivia, was not taken to Khartoum city. So he took a risk and stayed where he was at the hotel. 24 hours passed. Then his cell phone rang again. This second phone message cleared Mawal's doubts and refuted Mr. Akal's words. This time, the caller threatened to kill him if he attended the trial. When he informed Mr. Akal of the threat, the Christian lawyer became more certain that Olivia's kidnapping was related to the trial. Therefore, the southern lawyer immediately contacted the police force and demanded that the Dinka groom be provided protection from the kidnapper of his Azanda bride. The police department sent 2 policemen to guard Mawal at the hotel where he was staying. Meanwhile, the evil pimp, Bint Alzubair Pasha, believes there is no harsher punishment a young woman like Olivia could endure than prostitution. Life taught her that death frees a girl from the cruelty and torment of men, but prostitution makes her suffer psychologically, socially, physically, and emotionally, and when she dies, she burns in the fire of hell forever, like a prostitute who sold her body for adultery, which God forbade, and stipulated that the adulteress be stoned. For this reason, as soon as her gang kidnapped the beautiful Azanda bride from her bed in the hotel room, while she was naked and drunk next to her Dinka groom, who was also drunk, Bint Alzubair Pasha decided to turn her into a perpetually suffering prostitute. Her gang bribed hotel staff and also threatened to kill them if they did not cooperate. So they gave them the key to the southern couple's room. When the police came, they claimed that they did not know where the missing guest had gone. They even told the police that the uncircumcised, infidel Christian bride had been drinking alcohol all night with her southern zongi or nigger groom until she became very drunk. So perhaps she ran away from her uncircumcised, infidel husband with another black lover, and spent the rest of the night in his arms somewhere in the city being fucked in her big pussy by his uncircumcised large dick. Fearing that a police search would reach her brothels, the granddaughter of Alzubair Pasha hid Olivia in her huge mansion in the urban area of the city until the search for the kidnapped southern bride was over. In the meantime, police authorities searched every nook and corner of the city. All the huts of Bint Alzubair were carefully searched. Search warrants were sent to nearby towns and villages. Olivia's full descriptions were made public, and her picture was placed everywhere in the city. However, until the second hearing of the trial, there was no trace of the missing Azanda bride. By this time, her Dinka groom believed that she was murdered by her captors and her remains hidden somewhere. Mawal went through the most tough time in his life. He spent many sleepless nights and terrifying days alone in the hotel. He did not mourn his missing Dinka bride, Ayan, as much as he mourned his other half, the Azanda girl, Olivia. Once again, He held himself responsible for exposing her to this danger and sad ending. She could have had a better life in the south if their paths had not crossed. He concluded that the evil woman, Bint al-Zubair Pasha, had previously killed Olivia immediately after her kidnapping in retaliation for killing al-Hambadi Manwad Mahira bint Aboud and destroying her prostitution camps through fire. Then either she burned her remains and turned them into ashes, or her gang members dumped her murdered body into a hole in the wilderness, disposing of it as if it is a carcass of an animal or a dead stray dog. Chapter 43. Abdullah Deng and his daughter Susan. The second session of the slavery trial began by summarizing what happened in the previous session. The judge then asked the Southern Christian lawyer whether he would speak on behalf of his client, Ecolaz, or if she could speak for herself. Mr. Akal said he would speak on behalf of his client. It seemed that the courtroom had not changed since the first session. It's as if everyone chose the same seat and wore the same outfit. The only clear change is that the innocent lamb, the southern girl, Ecolaz, who was enslaved, was separated from the dangerous wolf, her alleged master, Imam Abd al-Shaitan al-Mahdi, to whom the Christian lawyer predicted his eternal abode in hell. This time the victim girl sits between Mr. Akal and Mr. Mawal. Maulana looks like a wolf that has been caught and put inside a cage. It seems that his long beard has shrunk from fear, and his false modesty has disappeared. He looked angry, sparks of vengeance flying from his red eyes. For those who previously revered and worshipped him, he has transformed from a god of mercy into a demon of mankind and jinn. Then the judge called on the intelligent southern lawyer to begin his line of defense. Mr. Akal immediately stood up, stretched his long legs, took 2 steps, and stood in front of the judge. But this time he is a serious lawyer, and his face reveals righteous anger. He is not in the mood to joke or make others laugh. However, some of the audience members who admired him now remembered his previous antics and started laughing again. The judge hit his table 3 times with his gavel and threatened to remove anyone who laughed without reason. The hall was completely silent after the judge's threatening words. Mr. Akal suddenly turned to face the evil imam, pointed his finger at him, and shouted, "This religious leader is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I will prove it in a minute." The judge does not know whether to correct Mr. Akal or remove him from the courtroom for causing the roars of laughter that followed those opening words. The judge waited patiently until his gavel restored silence in court. "Please, Mr. Akal, go straight to the matter at hand in this felony case, and please do not sentence anyone accused before the trial is over," the judge said. The southern lawyer bowed his head to the judge and said, "Your Honor, the just judge, I will go directly to the serious case and inform the court of what my client, the southern girl, the victim, Ecolaz, informed me after the first session. She admitted that a southern citizen named Mr. Abdullah Deng took her to the imam's house and presented her to him as a trust hanging around his large neck. Before that agreement occurred, Mr. Abdullah Deng went to the imam of the largest mosque in this city and converted to Islam, even though he was a Muslim man by birth. He also fabricated the story of 200,000 cows, 99 infidel Christian wives, and his huge properties in the Dinka land in southern Sudan. He borrowed some money from Maulana and kept the Dinka girl, Ecolaz, with him, claiming that he was her biological father. He claimed they were both Christians before converting to Islam. He said to Maulana, "If I do not return within 3 months, my daughter will be your possessed girl at your right hand, and you can do with her whatever you want." In other words, he placed the Dinka girl in the role of trust in the hands of the imam, and if he did not return within 3 months, the Maulana was free to do whatever he wanted with her. We know what happened next. The adulterous imam slept with the Dinka girl, Ecolaz, and impregnated her without a permissible Islamic marriage contract, and when some people brought him before the Sharia court, he claimed that she was his slave, while in this court he changed his mind and presented some false evidence and false witnesses to prove that she was his fourth Muslim wife when he raped her without marrying her. Mr. Akal looked around to see if anyone had an objection to what he had told the court so far. When he was sure everyone wanted to hear more, he continued speaking. The court's decision regarding the evil deal between the adulterous Imam and Abdullah Deng does not concern me. What I care about is, why was all this drama created? Why would a southern person go to the Grand Mosque and lie to its Imam and claim that he has converted to Islam when he is actually a Muslim man? Why does he claim that the Dinka girl is his daughter when she is not? I think that even Ikhlas herself does not know the real motive behind this drama. She was forced to act in a play without fully understanding it. Until this moment, she believed that Abdullah Deng and another person deceived Imam Abdul Razak, and therefore he brought her into his house without knowing the trap that was set for him. The African lawyer stopped and headed towards the Arab judge's table, took his cup of water, and drank it completely. Once again, the judge showed no sign of protest. The public also knows that the Imam's Arab lawyer did the same thing in the previous session, and the judge did not blame him for drinking water from his cup. If he did so, the African audience, which represented the majority in the courtroom, would consider this disgusting racism towards the black Southern lawyer. However, Mr. Akal behaved better than Malana's lawyer, as he thanked the judge for allowing him to drink water, and then resumed his defense. Before moving to the Imam's house, Ikhlas was held captive in the home of a pimp lady who forced her into prostitution against her will. In less than a month, the southern girl, Ikhlas, was beaten, tied with ropes, and her genitals were mutilated with Islamic circumcision for Muslim girls, even though she was an uncircumcised Christian, and she was raped every day by more than 50 men. She was not paid a single Sudanese pound for being raped daily as an unpaid sex slave. Even the street prostitutes in this city get paid for their illegal actions. Guys, imagine a young teenage girl at the age of 16 being raped every day and night by more than 70 lustful Muslim men. Mr. Akal deliberately inflated the number of rapists to anger the judge and jury. This evil woman was hitting a nail in the fire to create the Islamic symbol of the crescent on the area between the breasts of Ikhlas. She did the same thing on her private genitals. This is the religious symbol she created on the body of every whore she turned into her sex slave. The Christian girl did not receive any money for what these men who raped her did to her body. According to Ikhlas, that same evil woman later took pity on her and made her choose between the house of vice and the house of virtue. In other words, she has to choose between continuing to practice prostitution or becoming a slave. Of course, any girl in a position of Ikhlas would have chosen to live in the Imam's house instead of continuing to live in a brothel. Before the woman sent Ikhlas to the house of the so-called virtue, she trained with her on how to act out the drama of the Christian Sultan Majak Deng and his Christian daughter, Susan. Abdullah Deng is one of the pimp's gangsters who traffic in women's bodies. Unfortunately, he is a southerner and still agrees to plot against a southern girl like him. In this way, the woman pimped the captive Dinka girl, Ikhlas, into believing that she could enter Malana's house without suspicion. The woman told Ikhlas that the Imam's wife would treat her as a maidservant but without pay. Once again, I will remind you of what happened to Ikhlas in the Imam's house. The Imam's wife turned her into an unpaid servant, and later she became a sex slave for the evil Imam himself, and he made her pregnant with his child, Bint al-Haram, or illegitimate child without marriage. This is the story, gentlemen, as told to me by my client, the captive southern girl, Ikhlas. Why was this whole drama created? She doesn't know the answer yet. Mr. Akal stopped and looked around for someone intelligent to solve the mystery of the drama he shared. Even though the judge seemed confused and did not know what to say, he looked at the southern lawyer, hoping that he would be able to reveal the answer to the riddle he narrated in detail. Mr. Akal addressed the court again. Personally, I believe that the imam of the largest mosque in this city has a hand in this dirty game. Simply put, even though he is the imam of a large mosque, he still has a secret connection to the world of prostitution. Before I tell the court why I believe this, I would like to say that the Dinka girl Ikhlas was sold by the late evil road thief, the Hambadi Manwad Mahira bint Abood, to the pimp lady who is involved in the trade of slavery and prostitution. I think everyone in this court knows the identity of the pimp woman who forced Ikhlas into prostitution and sold her as a sex slave to the adulterous imam. That woman we all know as Bint Al-Zubair Pasha Wad Rama. The accused Maulana himself shouted, "Objection, Your Honor." "What is your objection?" inquired the judge. The imam was now extremely upset, and his mouth was foaming when he opened it like a crocodile that wanted to swallow the infidel Southern Christian lawyer who accused him of having a secret connection with the world of prostitution. I don't have any secret connection with any pimp woman or bad people in the brothels of prostitutes. I was born and raised from an early age in a good Islamic home. Since my childhood, I was trained on the Holy Book of God and the sacred Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. I became the imam of the largest mosque in this city. Before that, I had studied at the largest Islamic educational center in the world, which is Al-Azhar University in Cairo, in the Arab state of Egypt, a source of Islamic knowledge and light. I have 3 university degrees from the same prestigious Islamic university. Bachelor's, master's and doctorate degrees in Islamic Sharia law, the sources of which are the Holy Quran, and the blessed prophetic hadiths that God Almighty revealed from the 7 heavens to his final prophet Muhammad. I married my 4 Muslim wives according to the Sunnah of God and his infallible messenger. I also married a Dinka girl, Ikhlas Abdullah Deng, in a permissible Islamic marriage. I am the holiest, most righteous, and most pious man in this city. I am a descendant of the greatest imam of all time, Muhammad Ahmed al-Mahdi. I am a free Arab man, and the Prophet Muhammad is my great-grandfather. I am the first in this city to learn Islamic jurisprudence and Sharia laws. I know the Holy Quran by heart, and all the hadiths of the Prophet. Stop, please, the judge shouted, interrupting the imam's boasts about his upbringing, education, and lineage. Everything that was said about you by the defense lawyer, Mr. Akal, will not be used as evidence against you unless it is verified and proven true with evidence. Currently, the court issues an arrest warrant for the accused woman, Bint Al-Zubair Pasha Wad Rama. Until then, the court is adjourned. Chapter 44. Arrest of a pimp lady, who is a slave master. The police surprised the daughter of Al-Zubair Pasha in her luxurious residence and arrested her. When they searched her huge mansion, they found the kidnapped Azanda bride, Olivia, in one of the rooms. Her hands and feet were tied with strong ropes, and she was lying completely naked without a piece of cloth on her body. One of the policewomen gave her a Sudanese women's sari top, an abaya, and an Islamic hijab, and ordered her to use them to cover her private parts and nakedness. She was then released from captivity and taken to the police station with her kidnapper and attacker, Bint Al-Shaitan Pasha. At the police station, Bint Al-Zubair was harshly interrogated, and the truth was forcefully extracted from her. The police officers who interrogated her then forced her to sign her confession. After that, the Dinka groom, Malwal, was called to the police station, and when he saw his kidnapped Azanda bride, Olivia, he could not believe his eyes. His joy knows no bounds. He started screaming and dancing, thanking God, saying hallelujah, and praising the Lord over and over again. He had prayed, fasted, and begged God to resurrect his beloved bride, Olivia, from the dead, just as God had done to him before when the evil Hambadi bandit Wad Mahira kidnapped her from him. He decided that as soon as the police allowed his miraculously freed bride to leave, he should take her straight to the railway station and escape the cursed Muslim community. He is afraid to spend another day with his Christian bride in this forest of human monsters. After hearing Abdullah Deng's plot, Malwal began to doubt the innocence of the Dinka girl, Ikalaz. He also began to think of her as a paid professional whore who could do anything illegal or immoral for money. She's like the vile southern Muslim gangster Abdullah Dang. Moreover, he believed that she was used by the daughter of Al-Zubair Pasha to deceive the imam of the largest mosque in the city. Then later, the greedy, corrupt pimp lady can use the adulterous act that the Dinka girl committed with the evil imam to blackmail him and steal his money. Why then should he and his beautiful Azanda bride, Olivia, engage in this dirty game of blackmail? Thus, his mind interpreted the confessions of the Dinka girl, Ikalaz, as narrated by the southern lawyer, Mr. Akal, to the criminal court. However, Olivia stood firm against Malwal's hasty conclusion. She refused to believe that the Dinka girl, Ikalaz, was a professional, paid prostitute who voluntarily and knowingly participated in the conspiracy hatched by the daughter of Al-Zubair Pasha against the adulterous imam. Olivia told Malwal that she saw her innocence written on her face during the first session. In a way, she was dragged, against her will, into that degenerate life of prostitution in the dens of vice, in the pimp huts, the house of adultery, and slavery in the unholy abode of the so-called house of virtue of the imam. She reminded her boyfriend that she was supposed to be forced into prostitution when she was kidnapped twice. But the Lord freed her with two amazing miracles from the claws of Wad Mahira, and from the palace of Beit al-Zubair. So, the freed bride, Olivia, told her American husband, Malwal, that until the trial was over everything was revealed and the evil imam was convicted, they should not leave the city. The beloved husband reluctantly succumbed to the pressure of his beloved wife and stayed with her. By the third day of the trial, not only the American groom Malwal but many others had come to the same conclusion, and began to view the southern girl Ikalaz as a filthy whore. When 4 police guards escorted Bint al-Zubair Pasha to the courtroom, many people were happy to see her. They had heard a lot about her, but few had seen her face to face before that day. Her name and fame can only be compared to her great-grandfather, the evil slave trader Zubair Pasha Wad Rama himself. When she entered the courtroom, surrounded by policewomen, she looked like a huge elephant accompanied by a group of small monkeys. No chair was found in the courtroom wide enough to contain her huge body, which made her look like a dinosaur among humans. The court ordered 10 men to vacate their long bench to accommodate the massive body of the obese woman. When she sat down, the judge and the audience waited for a while, to see if the wooden bench could still hold up under such heavy weight without cracking or breaking into pieces. The judge then ordered the police officer who interrogated her in the investigation room to read her confession to the court. The details are summarized as follows. The daughter of Al-Zubair Pasha admitted her involvement in creating the drama of Abdullah Dang, who left the Christian religion and embraced Islam, and his Dinka daughter, Suzanne, who also became a Muslim and changed her name to Ikalaz. She explained to the police the reason that prompted her to create such drama, and send one of her prostitutes, and one of her gang members to act it in front of the imam of the largest mosque in the city of El Fasher. She said that she was born and raised in a good Muslim home. Her family members are well known because they are all descendants of the great Sudanese hero Al-Zubair Pasha Wad Rama, who had a powerful Islamic army that challenged and defeated the armies of the Turks and the British. All members of her honorable family belong to the Arab Shakia tribe, which claimed that Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad, was their great-grandfather. Her tragedy began when she fell in love with her neighbor, when she was 15 years old. Her name at that time was Zainab Taha al-Qurashi. She later changed her name to Bint al-Zubair Pasha Wad Rama. Before her neighbor approached her family and asked for her hand in marriage, he made her pregnant with an illegitimate child. The boy later changed his mind and refused to marry her. The main reason behind this was that she had allowed him to sleep with her before marriage, and he could no longer trust her after that day. He said that a trivial girl like her who committed adultery with him before their marriage might sleep with another man in his absence. Her mother discovered the shameful pregnancy, so she went to the boy's family and complained about what he had done to her free, virgin, Arab daughter. The lover denied his involvement in committing adultery with his pregnant girlfriend in a forbidden manner. He falsely claimed that he was innocent of her illegitimate pregnancy, just as the wolf was innocent of the blood of the beautiful prophet Joseph, son of our master Jacob, peace be upon them both. He knows that Zainab's parents will not allow their adulterous daughter to live until she gives birth to his illegitimate child. The adulterous boy expected that the pregnant Arab Muslim girl would be killed in honor for committing forbidden sex before marriage by her father or one of her brothers, or that her defiled body would be burned with fire by and die by suicide, or that she would flee her home and become a prostitute in another city. The unfaithful lover also knows that there is no DNA test in Sudan to determine the paternity of an illegitimate child. This applies if the adulteress survives and gives birth to an illegitimate child. He placed his right hand on the Holy Quran and swore to God that he had not had intercourse with her, nor had he broken her hymen by inserting his penis into her vagina, not even once. Her mother believed the cowardly boyfriend's lies. Then the angry mother hit her daughter and threatened to inform her father. The daughter of Al-Zubair Pasha Wad Rama, who was then known as Zainab Taha al-Qurashi, knew that if her Muslim father came to know of her illegitimate pregnancy, he would not hesitate to slaughter her with his knife in an honor killing. As a result, she was forced to choose between fleeing home and practicing prostitution, or committing suicide by burning her body and the ill-gotten child inside her womb to ashes. Of course, being alive until the day of the trial, she chose to run away from home and become a prostitute. She was afraid that she would kill herself and die as an infidel, commit suicide, and fall into the fire of hell, which she was told was fueled by people and stones. There was also the bald serpent waiting for her death, burial, and torture in the grave. The Islamic education teacher at the girls' school also told her that the angels of death, Munkar and Nakir, would beat her in her naked body until she urinated in her grave. Therefore, Zainab bint Taha al-Qurashi preferred to flee from the house of virtue to the house of vice. She left the city of Kosti in the middle of the night and came by Nila train to the city of El-Fasher. At this stage, she changed her name to Bint al-Zubair Pasha Rama, which is her current nickname. She chose the name Bint al-Zubair Pasha because she wanted to hide her identity and preserve the honorable name of her great-grandfather, the slave trader, who appeared to her in a dream, gave her his charisma or karama, and encouraged her to practice the slavery trade, which Islam has not prohibited to this day. This is the story in brief. The story, as told to the police by the accused, Bint al-Zubair Pasha, during her painful interrogation, is extraordinarily long, decorated with many colorful details, and contains indecent words that are not appropriate to mention in public in a court full of children and women. While the prosecuting officer was standing and reading these lengthy details, the judge would often interrupt her and ask her to avoid unnecessary and immoral details. Every time, the judge also wanted to know how these boring details were related to the drama of the Southerner Abdullah Deng and his Dinka daughter, Susan. In this way, the policewoman skipped a lot of details until she arrived at the link. The connection does not become clear until it is eventually revealed that it was the lying, adulterous neighbor boyfriend, who impregnated the 15-year-old girl Zainab bint Taha al-Qurashi and destroying her life, sending her to brothels and eventually becoming a prostitute. Later, the bad lover who committed adultery and impregnated the famous pimp Lady bint Zubair Pasha, and led her to flee home, and became a prostitute, none other than himself, the imam of the largest mosque in the city of El-Fasher, our Honorable Maulana Abdul Razak al-Mahdi. Chapter 45. An Adulterous Zombie Woman. The unexpected revelations of the sad story of the daughter of al-Zubair Pasha hit the adulterous imam's head like a bullet fired at him from close range. So he became extremely frightened and terrified, as if he saw a frightening zombie coming out of her grave to attack him. He jumped out of his chair and screamed loudly like an ogre or a ghoul. "Oh my God, Allah protect me." His violent reaction frightened the obese suspect Bint al-Zubair Pasha so much that she jumped and landed back on her bench. Her jump added more weight to the seat, causing it to break in half. The elephant woman fell backwards like an old, dilapidated building hit by a strong hurricane. Her massive body fell on some people sitting right behind her, just like a dump truck unloading its load of garbage. They were crushed under the heavy weight of the frightened dinosaur woman. Some of these victims were carried on stretchers from the courtroom and were never seen again. It took 10 police officers to restore the fallen woman to her previous position. The audience rose to their feet until everything returned to normal. Meanwhile, many children were laughing, men were shouting Allah Akbar, and some women were ululating. When the judge was sure that the frightened imam had not suffered a heart attack, and that the huge woman, Bint Alzubair Pasha, had not broken her neck, he asked the Christian lawyer to resume his line of defense for his client Ikhlas. Mr. Akal is still astonished by the startling news of the imam's adultery, and his accusation of the Alzubair Pasha's daughter. He stood silent and did not look away from the adulterous Maulana's face. It was the judge who asked him to stop looking at the accused and start defending. As he listened to the judge, he was finally able to shake off the righteous anger that had gripped him from the moment he heard the shocking news. So, guys, I was right in my guess. This Antichrist religious leader is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and I knew it since I saw his long beard. Mr. Akal said those words, his voice choked with anger. The audience burst into loud laughter, and many clapped their hands in agreement. I will disqualify you as defense counsel if you make such a hasty, judgmental remark about a suspect again, the judge shouted. He's still angry too. Mr. Akal was frustrated by this warning. Therefore, he became more upset. I will go straight to continue defending my client. As we discovered today, my innocent client, Ikhlas, was forced, without her knowledge or consent, into an evil conspiracy between a cowardly, traitorous lover and his victimized beloved whom he had impregnated by his illegitimate baby. In other words, someone in this hall fell in love with his neighbor's daughter, raped her, made her pregnant, and washed his mouth like a wolf that ate the flesh of its prey, the starry deer, after slaughtering it, and defiled her body with his penis by inserting it into her vagina, violating her and stealing her virginity. The illegally pregnant girl ran away from home and became a prostitute, and when she grew up, she became a pimp woman who sold forbidden alcohol, made it and sold it, and trading with the bodies of other prostitutes. When she became filthy rich through this illegal business, she decided to take revenge on her evil boyfriend who ruined her life. Therefore, she produced the drama of Mr. Abdullah Deng and his Christian daughter, Susan. The Dinka girl had no idea why she was sent to the Imam's house and forced to act in that drama performed by Mr. Abdullah Deng and his Christian daughter, Susan, who was forced to become a Muslim woman called Ikhlas. They performed well in the play, and the immoral Imam fell into the trap of the daughter of Alzubair Pasha Wad Rama. Now I will return in court to my client's life before she fell into the hands of the daughter of Satan Pasha. Ikhlas told me that she is not a prostitute, as some of you might think of her. She is from a noble family and a delightful home. She was born and raised in a Christian family, and from her childhood, she learned the moral principles and guidance of the Holy Gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. The Christian lawyer stopped and waited to see if there was a Muslim among the court panel, or the Imam and his lawyer would protest his description of Jesus, Son of Mary, as the Lord and the Son of the highest God. When no one among the audience, members of the court, and the defendants, the Imam and his victim, Bint Alzubair Pasha, protested, because they were all Muslims except for Mawal, Olivia, his wife Mary, and himself, he continued his defense. Ikhlas is a married bride. She was about to travel to her husband in the United States of America before the Arab Muslim Janjaweed Mujahideen raided her village, which was called Tawila, and killed her parents, 2 brothers, and her baby sister. In an instant, the American groom Mawal emerged from his seat, and stood with his eyes wide open, staring in great amazement at Mr. Akal's face. He opened his mouth to shout in victory, but found that he could only utter the following stuttering words: "This Dinka girl is my kidnapped bride, and I am her groom." Malwell wiped the sweat from his forehead with a trembling hand. Some of the audience seemed confused by his actions, words, and strange claims. In all this, the Southern lawyer did not hear or see what the Dinka groom did or said. He just kept reading his defensive line notebook. The real name of the kidnapped Dinka girl is... Before the lawyer Akal could reveal her real name to the court, her Dinka groom shouted, "Her name is Ian Majok, and her American groom is Malwell Deng." Now all eyes turned from Mr. Akal's face to the Southern young man, who suddenly rose to his feet and shouted the real name of the wife, Ikalaz, and her American husband, Malwell. The Southern lawyer remained silent for a few seconds when he heard someone pronounce the previous name of his client, Ikalaz, before he had time to say it in his own words or read it from his notebook. Then he turned in slow motion, as if in a comedy movie, and looked at Malwell with great astonishment. Facing Mr. Akal, Malwell said, "Yes, sir, I am the American husband whose name you are about to mention, and this victim girl is my kidnapped Dinka wife, Ian." Tears filled his eyes, and his throat nearly closed. He fell into his chair, covered his face with his hands, and began to weep. He could no longer listen to what Mr. Akal had to say about him and his lost bride. His Azanda bride Olivia helped him stand and followed the judge's order to take him out of the courtroom. Some people concluded that the lover, Malwell, lost his senses and became a crazy person, just like the mad lover of Layla. Even his kidnapped Dinka bride Ian was unable to confirm his words immediately due to shock. She could not believe that her American husband, Malwell, could suddenly appear and become the handsome man sitting in the courtroom with his beautiful Azanda wife, Olivia. Her shocked mind needed time to figure out what had happened. Only his new Azanda bride, Olivia, can understand Malwell's strange claims. She is immediately faced with a new dilemma. Who is the true bride of Malwell? Ian or Olivia? The American groom came all the way from the United States of America to find his kidnapped African bride from the Dinka village of Tawila. He put his life in danger because of her. The Azanda girl Olivia considered herself to be just a fellow rebel soldier in the jungle who offered to help him find his missing Dinka bride, Ian. She fell in love with him, and he didn't stop her. She did not prevent him from searching for his kidnapped bride. The American groom Malwell has finally given up hope of finding his missing bride, and has found no one else to take her place except Olivia. Suddenly things are different. Malwell would not have married Olivia if he had found Ian. Her memory took her back to the day she approached him in the forest and tried to have sex with him without marriage in that deserted village and expressed her feelings for him. Husband Malwell had confronted her about his eternal holy Christian marital fidelity in keeping his marriage covenant with Ian, and she agreed to honor the covenant. But after he lost hope of finding his Dinka wife, he married his Azanda beloved girlfriend. What is his valid marriage vow now, and whose marriage vow should Malwell honor? The bride, Olivia, bit her lips to control the strong, disturbing emotions, causing turmoil inside her mind. With difficulty, she managed to pull herself together and pretend to be normal. Malwell also overcame his shock and asked his lover, Olivia, to take him back to the courtroom. He promised to control himself and his emotions until the end of the trial.